Hey Buns, did you know that Calusia was designed after a real place in the UK? Or that the sprinklers in the Crystarium turn off and on at certain times of day? I learned that and a whole lot more by watching the Creation of Shadowbringers 6-part miniseries on the Final Fantasy XIV official YouTube channel. And so today, I'd like to share with you some of the most surprising things that you probably didn't know about Shadowbringers. This video will have some Shadowbringers spoilers, mostly from the very beginning of the questline, so be warned. Pretty much if you have gone to help Alicey in the beginning instead of Alphino, and then you've come back and reported back to the Exarch, then you're good. So I'm going to give you a second to click away if you haven't gotten that far. Okay, here we go. Who among us can forget Teslin's transformation? They said that the point of that scene was to show you what life was like on the first, what the inhabitants of this world are feeling in a, quote, easy to digest way. The phrasing could have been better there, because isn't that cocoon thing like digesting her? Like, just like a caterpillar, because they digest themselves inside of the... gross. Easy to digest. The sound guys said that, quote, the instruction we received regarding the sound in that scene where Teslin is stabbed was basically pretty vomit. They said the goop falling down her face was the first time they could do something like that technically. So it's a bit of a breakthrough in terms of cutscene animation for 14. And they said they're excited about what that means for what they can show going forward. So maybe in the future they can show goop coming out of other places. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. The big sheer cliffs of Calusia are based off of Seven Sisters in the UK. That is less than a 2-hour drive from where FanFest is, I guess, still happening at. So maybe we can go there. I'm sure it will be fine by then. It's totally not going to be fine. It's totally not going to be fine. The Raktika ruins, like Kitana Ravel, are based off of Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Historians believe that the real-life complex initially served as a funeral temple, so I guess it kind of makes sense why I'm always dying in there. They actually went to Saudi Arabia to take pictures of the dirt and sand in reference for the creation of Amarang. And if that's the case, Saudi Arabia is even scarier than I thought, because they have sand golems, apparently. The weirdest stuff I heard about, though, was the clouds in everlasting light weather. The artist said that they traveled to Guam to look at Guam's thick clouds. And, like, look, I'm not a meteorologist, but does Guam really have... I mean, those clouds look pretty good. I would have also told my boss that I actually need to go to Guam for the art references. They just have really thick clouds there. I don't know. And I'm going to need this particular room for the optimal cloud viewing conditions. No, let's face it. I'd never have to go to Guam. I've got a thick cloud right here. Oh, she's sleepy. Ayumi Name, the artist who worked on Ishtola's Black Mage outfit, said that she actually put ley lines on the bottom of Ishtola's shoes, which is such a fun little detail that I think most people would probably never see. I guess it kind of makes sense because Master Matoya would never want Y'shtola to step out of line. She also said Black Mage design is like Harry Potter but grown up. I don't know, every Black Mage I know would fail Hogwarts because they couldn't be bothered to walk to class. So apparently Voidwalker, the monster thing from Eden's Gate Descent, was originally designed by the artist as a mount. And so I guess somebody came up to him and was like, hey, so we need you to make like a monster that's going to be holding somebody and moving around. So like a mount? Yeah, I guess, yeah. He said he designed it for you to be riding it horizontally like a motorcycle, and was surprised when he saw it upright in the game. But like, was it meant to cradle you while you sleep on your back? Or were we going to lay like chest to chest, tum to tum, while I nestle my head into its neck muscle? Such an oddly intimate mount concept, though we can now literally mount Ramu. So let's talk about the two main themes for the expansion: Shadowbringers and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Soken said they intentionally had former sung by a man and the latter by a woman. And that's supposed to be some kind of clue for us. He also said that both songs start out similarly with the intros to symbolize that we all came from the same place and then went our own ways from there. So from the pineapple under the sea, if you know what I mean? Try not to be too spoilery. Soken said, nobody came into this world planning to cause conflict or oppression. We all share roots and we wanted the music to reflect that. So do with that info what you will if you finished the story quest for Shadowbringers. Tomorrow is in a major key, which we normally associate with light, happiness, and Shadowbringers is in a minor key, which is closer to shadow, darkness, gloominess. But Shadowbringers shifts into a major key near the end. And Soken said that there are lyrics that explain that shift. So yesterday, I pulled up both songs and I was reading the lyrics and I'm listening to the songs thinking like, I'm going to crack the code for y'all for my video. And I ended up, and this is true, just straight up crying like a baby for half an hour. So like, maybe you'll have better luck. Though really, it's more like a try not to cry challenge. It's more like one of those try not to cry YouTube challenges. So good luck with that. If you can make it through it and come up with a good theory, I'd love to know it in the comments. All I can think of is Astion/Warrior of Light fanfic. Like that's all I got. Did you know there's a house in Tamra that only Lalafels can go inside? It's on the first, so it's a dwarven home. And if you're not dwarf sized, the dwarf is shut. The funny thing about this is that apparently it was Yoshida's idea. And he had to have it. Background artist Masato Shida said, when we first received the request by director Yoshida, our first reaction was, how on earth are we going to go about doing this? Of course, Yoshida plays a Lalafell, and I'm convinced that he just wanted to see if he could get away with it, which he did. So what's next? We're going to have Lalafell only housing? No, I guess that would take up less server space. Anyways, my buns are too big to fit, but that's not a problem because they've released the footage from the inside of the house. So I can now show that footage to you. Saved you $8. Each job has its own unique sound profile. Now, this is one of those things that seems really obvious, but I never paid attention to it before. It's one of those things it's easy to take for granted. So like for Gunbreaker, they wanted to convey speed and a mechanical element. For Warrior, they wanted sounds with a lot of weight behind them. And for Dark Knight, they wanted dark, creepy, and mysterious. For Dancer, they captured sound effects for different percussion instruments and edited them to fit the steps and moves. So next time you play, see if you can hear your job's personality as you fight. Did you know that the trust system new to Shadowbringers is based on FF12's Gambit system? If you've played FF12, you know that setting up a good Gambit system for your party can pretty much let the game play itself. So they took that system and adapted it to be more realistic for the culture of Final Fantasy XIV, so that instead of the others helping as much as they can through damage and healing, they do the absolute bare minimum. Remember that gremlin from the Shadowbringers trailer? Well, they actually had a real hard time trying to figure out what he'd sound like. Soken said, quote, one of the junior members of my team was very frustrated because he didn't know what to do, and he actually came to consult me about it. He told me he was considering simply hiring someone to record the voice in one universal language. I pushed back to my colleague and asked if he could come up with something on his own, and he thought long and hard about it, trying quite a few different options, but nothing seemed to work. In the end, as a last-ditch effort, he went home over the weekend, took a hand recorder, and went into his closet to discreetly record what he believed a gremlin may sound like, while trying not to disturb the rest of his family at home. It was surprisingly good. We modified the voice, of course, but it is my colleague's voice that we used. That's the original recording of a man at his wit's end.
Weary wanderer, no fight left to fight.
Finally, I wanted to point out a beautiful thing that Yoshida said guided their thinking for the expansion thematically. When people think of light, they think of something beautiful, righteous, and just. Something that's pretty to look at, unstained and untainted, but that's not necessarily true. And if you look at the darkness, there's beauty in it. There's a line of dialogue that talks about how it's the night sky that enables the stars to be beautiful. It is the crevasse that gives the rolling hills their shape. Honestly, watching this series made me appreciate Shadowbringers a lot more. I started to notice things that I never noticed before. So I would recommend watching it. If each episode is, I think, 10 minutes long. I didn't talk about everything that's covered there, so I'll put a link in the description where you can start. But I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or on Twitch. You can also support the channel for free by clicking the subscribe button or by sharing this video with your fellow Warriors of Darkness. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!